Hi, I'm Alan Ross. I'm the managing editor of APC Media, or APC Technology Productions, Transformer Technology, Power Systems Technology. We are here at the RE Plus 2023 event in Las Vegas. This thing is huge. It seems like the battery storage people have come here. So we've got wind, solar, battery storage, and everything in between. But hope you enjoy these interviews. I love interviewing the technology of the future, and enjoy. My next guest is Brent Robinson. Brent, thank you for joining me.
Yep, thanks for having me.
So we're here at the RE Plus 2023 show. You've been in, 12 years with Aggreko?
Yeah, 12 and a half years with Aggreko.
Okay,
yep.
You look younger than that,
yeah.
but that's really good.
Yeah. Thank you.
No, and that'll do you well when you're my age.
I'm surprised it's 12 and a half years already. Yeah, time flies.
Yeah. You're Dick Clark. You look younger than that. But you moved into the renewables part of Aggreko. We're going to get to that about what the company does. But just from your perspective, what do you see happening in the industry as a result of this show? Before you came to the show, the company has to do strategy, has to look to the future and say, this is what we think's happening. What's happening in the industry?
A lot of growth, a lot of excitement. This is our first year actually at RE Plus, so we're excited to be here. It's a massive show, so it's sort of overwhelming in some ways. We're taking it all in. But it's just exciting, the growth we're seeing in solar, of course. Solar's taking off, but BESS is kind of like a really big thing that we're seeing that we're excited about, because we're involved in it in a couple ways, so that's exciting. But it's just explosive growth right now in renewables. Very exciting to us.
In the area that you're involved in, because you're here, you have a space, right?
We do, yeah.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
So the area that you're involved in, you obviously say, hey, we have a solution to something. What's the problem that your solution?
Yeah, so one of the big ones that we focus on at this show is developers having interconnection delays. So they're wanting to get their projects online, but there's an interconnection queue, of course, to get on utility power, right, and start producing and exporting their power. So what we talk to them a lot about is we can actually commission off-grid before they have that interconnection, and we roll up with our equipment. They can do all their commissioning, whether it's solar, wind, or BESS, off-grid, and then once grid comes available, then they're fully ready to go. And that can have different tax implications depending on the year, getting it done before the end of the year, or just deadlines to their investors and their projects. So
you primarily work on utility scale, or?
Yeah, mostly, but we do some smaller ones as well. But I would say primarily utility scale.
Okay, what are you finding the acceptance from the utility industry at finally saying, you know what, our future's got to be renewables, and
yes.
solar's a big part of
yes.
it. That has not been the case. It's been, we'll see, it's never going to work. It's just so nice to run our gas power generators, our coal power generators.
Sure.
But damn, this thing really works, and it's starting to work. What do you hear from your customers?
I think especially if they're integrating BESS, then it's like it's a full turnkey solution, right? That is reliable, because it can work during the day, of course, but then also at evening it can discharge as well. So I think if you integrate BESS, it's a wonderful solution. It can be standalone too, of course, but I think BESS is the game changer to integrate that.
You think, what is that again? BESS?
The battery element, battery energy storage systems.
Okay, that's what BESS is.
BESS, B-E-S-S.
BES, battery, because I know ESSS, but BESS.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Battery.
The battery portion, the storage system, the storage
okay.
element. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
See, everybody's trying new words and new.
So there's a lot of acronyms too. So
That's right. Yeah. I've got that one now.
Yeah.
Bess. That's an old lady named Bess from North Georgia,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And that is I think what we've realized here. Now people are saying, hey, look, with that scale, you don't have to prove your model anymore. We have to implement it in a much bigger way than we have. Because now we've got EV charging and what it's doing to the entire grid. The decarbonization, we really haven't done much about that. We're still, putting a lot of pollutants into the air. But in what way does Aggreko help with all of that?
Well, like I said, so one of them is getting the projects online, so helping with commissioning.
Is that a consultative basis, or is
no?
Actually
We're coming out with our equipment and we're setting up a package. Our equipment's modular, so we'll roll up on trailers. We're temporary in nature. pretty well most things we do, and I can talk to something that's a little bit different later, but most things we do is temporary in nature. We call ourselves temporary utilities, right? So we'll come in and provide power to energize the lines on these projects, apply voltage, and then they can start commissioning the turbines or the inverters. We'll have a load bank that can receive that load because they don't have the ability to export it yet. So we'll help project get commissioned before interconnection is a big thing. But also there's just a lot of supply chain issues, as you know. So a lot of these projects are waiting on transformers, waiting on backup generators, waiting on different electrical components that will come in and provide on a temporary basis as they're under construction or going through commissioning. So just filling in a lot of gaps where there's supply chain issues or power constraints. We'll just come in and do it on a temporary basis.
Do you do anything in disaster recovery?
Yes, so that's a massive part of our business. So pretty well anytime there's a storm, it often can impact the power to places and facilities. So we'll come in on a temporary basis and come with generators to help restore power. Yeah, and also at different switchgear, electrical equipment, we rent that equipment. So sometimes it gets damaged in a storm. We'll come rent it on a temporary basis until the permanent one can be restored or procure a new one.
So you're part of the resiliency of the grid.
I would really say so, yeah. Resiliency of the grid, supporting the grid, and then when things happen, delays, storms, disasters, we help assist in those events.
A lot of weather events, obviously. It's in the weather all the time.
Weather, supply chain, just where there's those little gaps that people don't have exactly what they need, and we'll come in and help on a temporary basis.
Yeah. I didn't realize that supply chain would be an issue, but that would be when you can't get certain equipment. Transformers right now are hard to get.
Yeah, everybody's talking about lead times on transformers. I mean, we buy transformers, of course, as well for our rental fleet, but permanent transformers, everybody's waiting a long time, so constantly we're providing transformers to customers. They're just waiting for theirs to come in. Yeah.
So you have a team that sits at home waiting for the call, or do you say, no, we're really working with customers whether or not they need it, because we're there for them? I mean, you're either call us when you have a problem, or you have a relationship.
Yeah, ideally it's better to have the relationship so there can be some thought going into planning for their events as they're coming up. So let's say like an interconnection, that's in advance. You got a gap in your schedule, we'll need help. But weather, that you can't really plan for that as well. So hopefully the customers at least know us and know who to call. Some are proactive and actually get equipment ahead of time, because that's probably the better way to do it. Otherwise you could call us and we might be out ourselves, because everything is in limited supply. So it's a bit of both. Some is planned with customers and some is for info call.
Have you ever run out and had a customer call and say, we need something? Go, I wish you'd have called me that yesterday. Unfortunately, we're sold out.
It sometimes happens. It's not as rare as you might think, because we have such a large inventory. I think it's about 33,000 just generators and then all kinds of other pieces of equipment. So sometimes it happens. It seems like we always pull a rabbit out of our hat somehow. We have very hardworking people. We're all over the world. We can pull in equipment from all over the world. We've done things like that. So we've done a lot of emergency response where we just pull in and we'll do it. We put generators on planes. We put generators on planes to Hawaii a couple weeks ago. We will do a lot of stuff to make it happen. So it's rare that we say we don't have it. Very rare, actually. In my 12 years, I haven't had to say it too many times, luckily. So,
well, I was going to ask you, I was going to switch gears, and I was going to ask you about Aggreko, but you've just done a very good job of setting Aggreko up there. But sell me. I walk up to your booth. I know Aggreko. I am a utility, and I'm a specification sourcing manager. I'm a senior level person, and I know I need it. Talk to me about Aggreko.
Sure, and it really always asks kind of like what their specific application is and role is, but a lot of times they'll be sort of aware of the gaps in their business, right? So it may be a person who they know they got to get their project online, but they may have a gap in that interconnect. So then we'll talk about doing the off-grid commissioning. They may be sourcing all this equipment that they're starting to hit some lead time issues, and we can just provide it on a temporary basis. The battery stuff is interesting that we're doing a lot of. The batteries do require some other things that people don't really think about. They need cooling, right, to keep the batteries at a certain temperature. Sometimes they don't have the interconnection for that, and the batteries have arrived on site, but you need a form of power to power the cooling systems. So we'll provide a generator for that. They also need to have a certain state of charge. They can't be sitting around at a 0% state of charge, so sometimes we'll just charge them up a bit. So it really depends on the application. There's so many layers of things that we kind of get into on, especially the battery projects and the solar and wind as well. So I would just want to know exactly what they're encountering, and then I'm sure there's something that they're having a pain point with that could probably help with.
No, that's excellent. I mean, I love the fact instead of saying, hey, here's a product or service, you're saying, we got to find out about the need
Yeah,
first.
I'm not a mind reader, so I got to understand what are they encountering first, because I don't want to just give them a bunch of information that's not relevant to them. So,
do you manufacture all of your own equipment?
For the most part, yeah. Our global head office is in Scotland, so we do manufacture a lot of our equipment in Scotland, just outside of Glasgow. Some of it
I was born in Edinburgh, so
Oh, were
I
you?
appreciate
Okay.
that.
Yeah. It's a Scottish company, so we're pretty proud of that. But we're also doing a lot in the U.S. as well, and other parts of the world. But yeah, we manufacture all the components. We usually put them in like a big sea container box, so it can go anywhere ruggedly, right? We're a mobile kind of temporary solution, so we got to be ready to go and move around and be tough doing it. So but we do manufacture most of it ourselves.
So when we had all those ships sitting off of Los Angeles and we couldn't offload anything, if your stuff was on there, it was stuck like everybody else's, right?
It could be, yeah. So, but yeah, like our stuff kind of looks like, in a lot of our equipment, looks like a shipping container. So you might see it, and it's just a big gray box that says Aggreko on it. But yeah, that's how we transport a lot of it.
You get to Scotland very often?
I've been there before. I did a factory tour. It was a kind of a dinner thing they had with our old CEO, which was a cool experience. So I did that and toured around and met with him and the team there. And then I was in Scotland 2 months ago on leisure. And so since we were up by Glasgow, I drove by the factory and showed my wife, said, this is the mothership. And so it's cool to see. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you go to Edinburgh while you were
No,
there?
we were more on the west. So we were all over England, then Glasgow, and then up through the Highlands. So it was a beautiful trip.
Yeah. Did you do any of the islands?
No, I didn't really have time. We were Glasgow, Fort Williams, and then kind of in the northeast, and but the Highlands, and I did a little bit golfing.
Where my family's from.
Yeah.
Actually, from Fort Williams to the northeast is the area where we are, where the barbarians from.
Yeah, and it's the same for me and my wife, so it was a little bit of a family kind of homeland trip type deal, so it was neat, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. That was a great interview.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you.